While you're looking for this, Norman, I have a story about, because I think sometimes that slightly intemperate tone can get you into trouble. And I remember a few years ago, I was at Patrick Coburn's birthday party in Washington, D.C., and Christopher Hitchens was there. And this was long after Christopher Hitchens had made his turn to the right and been supporting the Iraq War, and also I think had called for a vote for George Bush. But I was still to some degree on speaking terms with him, and at the party he said, "Do you want to go out in the back garden for a smoke?" And I'd actually given up smoking, but I thought, well, it'd be good to go and have a chat with Christopher. So we went out into the backyard of this Georgetown mansion, and he said, "Well, what are you up to now?" And I said, "Well, we started this new publishing company and we were getting going." And he said, "Well, who are you publishing?" And I said, "Well, actually, the next book that I'm publishing, the one that I'm working on at the moment, is by Norman Finkelstein." And Christopher kind of rolled his eyes and breathed his cigarette smoke out heavily. And of course, I knew that there was an issue between Norman and Hitchens because, of the war. But in a kind of innocent way, I said, "Is there a problem between you and Norman?" And he said, he looked at me and said, "Well, put it like this, things took a substantial turn for the worse after he called for my murder recently on his website." So I said, "Well, I'm sure that he didn't mean that literally." But when I got back to New York the following day, I rang up Norman and I said, "Norman, can I just ask you something? Did you call for Christopher Hitchens' murder on your website?" And he said, there was a pause, and then he said, "Yeah, I might have done, but I took it down again." And so, I suppose that was probably one of those kind of angry moments.
Well, it wasn't exactly like that. That was when Christopher Hitchens was grandstanding on the issue of waterboarding. He couldn't decide whether waterboarding was torture or not. And then he decided that he would have Vanity Fair sponsor a public event in which he would be waterboarded, and then he would decide on the basis of his experience whether waterboarding was torture. Yeah. Well, Hitchens, hero that he is, he lasted, I think, about 4 seconds before he screamed for help and was relieved of his ordeal, and he determined it was torture. And people were really waterboarded. Some of you will be surprised to learn, because I read the U.S. Senate report on torture. One of the fellows, whose name skips my mind, he was waterboarded like 170 times. It's just kind of astonishing. So I said, well, Hitchens doesn't know whether waterboarding is torture unless he experienced it. Well, I don't know whether if you shoot 2 bullets in his skull, whether that's lethal or not. So maybe Vanity Fair can sponsor a little. I thought that was a fair point. I didn't actually call for his death. I just want to replicate the experiment.